Hola, clase. So you should be taking notes on the sheet titled Introduction to Verbs. Es una introducción a los verbos en el español. You won't be writing out all of this stuff. You're using that note sheet, so you're not writing every word here. There are blanks for you. Okay, first we're going to talk about infinitives. So the main form of a verb is called an infinitive. And if you've learned about infinitives in English class before, you've always learned them as to plus a verb, because in English, infinitives include the word to. So far, you've just written the word infinitive and to down on your sheet. 3 examples of infinitives in English could be to dance, to walk, and to sing. So this is a verb when it has not been changed in form to match with a certain subject. Moving on to conjugations. So a conjugation is a form of a verb that matches with a specific subject pronoun. And we've talked about the subject pronouns in English. It's I and you and he and she and we and they. Those are pronouns that act as subjects. In Spanish, we've got yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ustedes. So say we have the infinitive to dance. An example conjugation in English would be the word dances, which matches with the subject pronoun he. So the verb form has changed very little. We've added an S to the end, and that is a conjugated verb in English. So if we look at a fully conjugated verb in English, if we have the first person singular form, it's I dance. Second person singular is you dance. Third person, he dances, she dances. That's the only verb form in English of this particular verb that changes to match the subject pronoun. Then we have we dance, you all dance, and they dance. Our verbs in English change forms very little when we conjugate them. So it's something we're not even too aware of as English speakers. It's just something that we do naturally. Spanish is a bit different. Let's talk about infinitives in Spanish. So again, infinitives are the main form of a verb. In English, it's to plus a verb, but in Spanish, infinitives are one word and they have 3 possible endings. An infinitive in Spanish could end in the letters AR or ER or IR. And so an example AR verb would be hablar, which means to speak in English. Notice it's one word in Spanish, hablar, and 2 words in English, to speak. Comer is an ER verb, meaning to eat, and vivir is an IR verb, meaning to live. On your note sheet, those examples are across the way instead of below. So infinitives in Spanish end in AR, ER, or IR, and they're one word. Infinitives are one word in Latin as well, and that's why sometimes people say that it is a grammatical error to split an infinitive. That comes from people thinking that Latin was a better language than English. It was more pure. It's not really a logical rule in English, though, because it's easy to split an infinitive. All right, regular versus irregular verbs. In Spanish, all verbs are either regular or irregular. So far in my class, we have studied 3 irregular verbs, and those are tengo from the infinitive tener, quiero from the infinitive querer, and I from the infinitive haber. Tengo, I have, quiero, I want, I, there is or there are. And I like to start with those because they allow us to form some high frequency sentences right off the bat. But now we're going to start going through verb patterns in a pattern. So we're going to focus on regular AR verbs for the next couple of weeks in class. Okay, so verbs have two parts, a stem and an ending. And there's two ways to refer to the stem. You could call it a stem or you could call it a root. So each Spanish infinitive has a stem or root and an ending. Again, I'm sorry if this is confusing, but there's just two ways to refer to the first part of the verb, the stem or the root. So for the verb bailar, its stem is bail and its ending is ad. Remember, there were three possible endings, AR, ER, or IR. So the ending is always AR, ER, or IR. For vivir, which means to live, bailar, by the way, means to dance. The stem of vivir is viv and the ending is ir. Now, instead of stem, we could call that the root. We could say that the root is bail and the ending is ad, or we could say that the root is viv and the ending is ir. All right, let's talk about conjugating verbs. When conjugating a Spanish verb, you leave the root or stem alone, and the root is the first part of the conjugated verb. So you keep that first part of the verb before the AR, ER, or IR. Then the ending of the verb is determined by the subject. We do this a little bit in English, like dance changes to dances for a third person subject. So there are sets of endings for AR verbs, ER verbs, and IR verbs. The verb endings are the same for any AR verb. And those endings are o, as, a, amos, ais, an. So you tack those endings on after the stem when you conjugate a verb. Very important information right here. So here's an example of a conjugated verb in Spanish, the verb bailar, meaning to dance. I have the subject pronouns included in the boxes, but the conjugated verb is actually just the bolded word there. Okay, so the first person singular conjugation is bailo, and the subject pronoun that goes with that is yo. I dance. Yo bailo means I dance. Tú bailas means you dance. Él baila, he dances. Ella baila, she dances. There's the abbreviation for usted. Usted baila, formal you, dance. Nosotros bailamos means we dance. Vosotros bailáis, you guys dance. And ellos or ellas bailan means they dance. Ustedes, abbreviated there. Ustedes bailan means you all dance. Now, because in Spanish our conjugated verbs change endings to match the subject, a conjugated verb in Spanish implies the subject pronoun that goes with it. Just by having its ending, it carries the meaning of the subject within just the verb. So an example of a conjugated verb with an understood subject that we've used this year already is tengo. Tengo means I have, even though we didn't include the word yo in front of it. And you could say yo tengo as well, but it's a little less common because the word yo isn't needed, and with language we tend to be really efficient and only use the words that we absolutely need to convey our meaning. However, people do say yo tengo sometimes. So I have, you could either say yo tengo and include the word yo meaning I, or just tengo. And that conjugated verb really does mean I have. Crystal clear, no need for the yo, it's just optional. So on that conjugated verb bailar, to dance, if I just say the word bailo, it does mean I dance, even without the word yo in front of it. Bailas means informal you dance. Baila could mean he dances, she dances, you dance, or it dances. Bailamos means we dance. Bailais means you all dance. And bailan means they dance, or plural you dance. Now notice that in that third person form, we've got multiple possibilities for our understood subject. So there could be room for ambiguity or confusion. Therefore, the following subject pronouns are likely to be found with the verb because they are not directly implied by the conjugated verb. It's all of the third person pronouns. Él, ella, and usted are our third person singular pronouns. He, she, formal you. And then our third person plural pronouns, ustedes, ellos, and ellas, are also more likely to be included because they're not directly implied by the conjugated verb. And in my class, when I give you sentences that begin with the subjects of él, ella, usted, ustedes, ellos, or ellas, I want you to include those subject pronouns and not just use the conjugated verb form for clarity's sake. Now, one more concept about Spanish. When you have the subject of it in a sentence, in English, we use it as a subject pronoun sometimes. But in Spanish, there is no subject pronoun for the word it. You simply conjugate the verb in the third person singular, and that's an implied subject pronoun with no correct word to be the subject pronoun. So the third person singular form is the conjugation that implies a subject of it. Now there is an object pronoun for it. So if I say like, it is blue, there's no subject pronoun. But if I say like, I need it is an object there, there's a pronoun for that. We won't get to that until second semester, however. So when you see it as the first word in a sentence in English and you want to translate it, just use the third person singular form of the verb and no subject pronoun. Okay, muchas gracias, clase. Adiós.